Live from the 607 is the ODPH Entertainment Edition, where we're talking movies, comics, TV, and more. Why don't you join in the conversation? Hashtag ODPH, because here we go. And welcome back to another edition of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour Entertainment Edition. I'm your host, Ken M., and sitting across from me is the intern himself, Padawan J.
Hello, hello, hello.
Now, we're changing a format just a little bit because when we have special guests hit the panel, we need to make adjustments. And for this guest, this was no problem to do, so we're going to go away from our typical movies, TV, comic format, and we're going to be talking to the man, the myth, the legend himself. He has been gracious enough, him and his band, to allow us to use their music for our show, so you hear them every week on the ODPH podcasts. He is a member of an up-and-coming band out of Austin, Texas. He is a contributor to a podcast, the Say It Loud podcast, which you should be listening to. If you're not, start after you get done listening to this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, Brian Wolff, everybody.
Hey.
Brian,
thanks for having me, man.
Thank you for coming on the show. We're super excited to have you on here. If you're following us on the social media, hit us with that hashtag ODPH. Brian has an incredible story, starting here in the 607 and now tearing it up in Austin. So, Brian, let's take it back to the beginning. So, how did you get started playing music?
Well, I kind of started out playing in school band. I played trumpet. That was the big thing back in the day in elementary school.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Not too much there. Pretty typical. And then I kind of realized in middle school that I really liked rock and roll music and decided to just kind of start looking for a guitar and hit up the Appalachian garage sale and found myself a knockoff Gibson SG.
Nice.
Ooh. Yeah, those are pretty. And Angus Young used to, play the real thing, but I found a nice knockoff $75 version of it and used my paper route money and snagged it up and didn't stop playing. So
you brought up Angus Young from AC/DC, obviously. Who else do you think is like musical influences on you at that time and even now, you can say?
So much. I mean, a lot of, honestly, what my dad showed me, which is like, the Who, Zeppelin, Pearl Jam, The Police was a big thing. AC/DC with guitar was definitely a huge thing for me. But yeah, man, definitely just... It's kind of how it all started, and once I had a guitar, I wanted to keep playing. I got addicted.
So it's just like you got it in your hand. You're now like playing every day, just getting the bug in you.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of grown up like playing a lot of sports and stuff, and then this just sort of took over everything. It just kind of became exactly how I wanted to spend all my time playing guitar.
And nothing wrong with that, absolutely.
Yeah. So
now you're starting to play. You're starting to play around in some bands. You're kind of getting your name out. How is that going at that time?
Well, I mean, we were really young, so it was kind of interesting. But we had this motivation to write our own stuff. The band was called Hard Nova, and
okay.
Yeah, my brother was in the band. I was about 14, 15 when the band was going off, and so it was just really interesting. We were kind of 14-year-olds trying to write stuff about what we thought life was all about, like
just video games and
girls and I don't know, like clothes people are wearing in school and I don't know, just
your typical teenage topics of the time, I guess. Your angst stuff and
you have to write about what I guess, and that's what we thought we knew about.
You're not going to be writing Stairway to Heaven Part 2 at that time.
No. Yeah, it's not going to be deep like that.
Coming soon.
Yeah, maybe on the new album, but not at this time period.
Now that I'm a developed man, I might be able to write Stairway to Heaven Part 2. We'll see.
Kind of work on that Zeppelin, but at the time, so you're writing, your usual teenager songs. You're kind of getting your name slowly working around, as a musician around the area, and then you're just kind of evolving more, playing more, getting out there.
Yeah, I kind of took a little break from it when I hit college, and just sort of decided it wasn't that important to me at the time, and I don't know why, but then I kind of picked it up again and started to write music again that that really meant a lot to me, and kind of realized that other people were sort of gravitating towards it, so it kind of motivated me to, just keep writing and make that a part of my life again. And then I ended up doing the bar band thing after college.
So it's sort of this time you took a break. You really decided, see what else was out there, so to speak, and then you just wind up coming back to it, just for some reason. Then just really fell in love with doing music and writing music again.
Yeah, like some stuff happened in the family that I don't want to get into too much, but it's just like when sometimes tragedy strikes and it kind of pushes you in a kind of different direction at times, whether you want it to or not. It's just like that's sometimes how you react, and that's what happened to me is I found music again.
So and then finding music, you started making your ways, like I said, doing the bar band scene, kind of hit around the local area. How are those shows like?
I mean, geez, that was a great time, man. I think I really learned a lot about being a musician at that time. 'Cause when I finished college, my whole idea was to head straight to Austin. 'Cause at that point I had known music is what I really want. Austin's a really cool town. That music is such a big part of the culture, so I'm gonna go there. But right after college, I had won that Binghamton Star contest.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then a bunch of bookings started to come in after that. I started to get phone calls about like, hey, you should play at my bar, you should play at this festival, you should do all this stuff around here. So I was like, well, maybe I should just stick around here and see how what happens. And
so you kind of started getting the taste of becoming a professional musician.
Yeah.
Just getting kind of really thrown into it. You're really starting to develop a reputation around town. You're having bars and places call you to come and play. And then kind of going from there. But Austin is still in the back of the head. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, it had been, especially knowing how big like the blues is down there, which has always been a big thing for me. So it's just cool to have that in mind. But I really do think like I would not have been ready to go to Austin right after college, looking back on it and knowing what it's like down there.
So kind of treating it like this is the minor leagues as you're starting out. You're just getting back into the music scene. You're starting to make a name for yourself around here. And then going to Austin, you would say, is the majors, if we're using a baseball analogy.
I mean, yeah, it's just the scale of it, There's just like, it's a huge city. Musicians are moving there from all over the world, so of course the quality is going to be better. It's just when you have that kind of competition of people like me that were.
Everybody's got a dream, and everybody wants to be number one, and it's motivation. It's healthy competition. I would say.
Oh, it's great.
Well, and especially the exposure you can get when you have a festival or event, kind of like South by Southwest every year, where you just have about 1 million people showing up.
Oh, it's
in
great,
one place for what is it, like a weekend?
It's a week and a half, actually.
Yeah,
it's crazy. And it's like it's just nonstop. Like you can look at it however you want to. South by can be one giant party if you want to, or you can be like us and play like 12 shows in a week and a half and try to get in front of whoever you can. And it's just it's great. I mean, South by is amazing. Jeez, I love that it's in my backyard.
No, yeah, I have not been, but from what I understand, there are times it can be a little crazy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's good and bad like anything else, but it's, we're lucky to have it for sure.
So then you're finally set after you've been playing around here for a couple of years, I would say?
Yeah. I graduated in 2010, and I left in 2012.
So about a good
October, so
good
2.5
2 years,
yeah,
2.5 years.
Yeah.
So you're fine tuning your craft, and then it's just finally like it's a now or never moment. You just really kind of said, okay, if I'm going to do it, now is the time.
Yeah, it was kind of a moment of I knew I always wanted to go to Austin, and I also knew if I just looked at the big picture. So every once in a while, I think it's good to like look at your life and see like if you stay on your path, like. What does it look like in 10 years?
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're doing what you're doing right now. And, I didn't mind the picture, but I also knew it could look better if I left. And, it was worth taking a shot.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Because, you've done almost the most that you can do right around this area if you're just sticking to one town. And there's nothing wrong with playing just one town by any means.
Yeah.
But when you're saying you want to do big picture, you want to go national, you want to be basically as big of a musician as possible.
Yeah, I mean, if this is how I'm going to spend my life, I want to do it all the way, That's kind of how I feel about it. And I felt that way about it since I made the decision to, not pursue a job after college, to just
just lock it in, and
go for it.
This is going to be it. So win, lose, or draw, I'm going to go as far as I can with it, and the good, the bad, the ugly, whatever's going to come, I'm going to take full on.
I'm not going to have that what if moment, like what if I did this a little bit better or whatever. It's hopefully I won't have that. It'll be well, I gave it a shot. At the worst case scenario, it'll be like I tried my hardest. Yeah,
and then you just went from there, and then getting down to Austin. What was your first initial reaction?
I was overwhelmed. I mean, it's insane how many people have the same story that I do. So you can go to an open mic down there on a Monday and see artists that will blow your mind more than anybody you've ever seen. Yeah. So like there's artists that will just like absolutely blow your mind. Playing at these open mics for free for no other reason than to just like get themselves out there a little bit.
What was it kind of like the scene from the Guns N' Roses video to Welcome to the Jungle? You get off the bus and it's just like, wow, like what is this like when Axl's walking off the bus?
Yeah, definitely similar to that. And I just remember going downtown and watching some other artists that had the same kind of story I did, but had been there longer and just were comfortable in their own skin there. And they were just like, what? Seeing them was just frustrating almost. Just like, I don't know if I can ever play like that, but it was also motivating at the same time. Like, okay, I could do that.
I definitely remember, when you first got down there, I remember following you and kind of keeping an eye on how things were going. And I remember there were a lot of open mic nights.
Yeah, for sure.
When you first started. And then I noticed you started kind of playing the same places over and over again. I'm like, all right, he's starting to get a foothold in this. It's good for him.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the progression as you go down there and you start playing out and meeting people at open mics. It's a big networking thing.
And then I would say you definitely met a few friends that we're going to talk about next segment. So make sure to hit us up on the hashtag ODPH. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. We're now on iTunes. That's right. The Ocho Duro Parlay Hour is now on iTunes. So download, rate, and subscribe. Spread the word, and thank you for listening to the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour.
I'm the street light guiding you home. Avoid the wrong step into.
Coming back for the second segment on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition with Brian Wolff from Fair City Fire. And last segment we were talking about he was in Binghamton, cutting his teeth, finally decided to make the jump to Austin. He gets to Austin, playing around, and then what happens?
Yeah, well, I joined a cover band for a little while, and that was interesting. And I met some of the guys in the band that ended up being Fair City Fire, which...
How was the first night meeting those guys? Were they in another band, or was it just kind of everybody was around?
It was interesting. The whole cover band thing was really interesting because I had a booking agent at the time who basically said, "Hey, you should try out for this band." And there was this girl that was the lead singer. She was awesome. It was called Holly and the Hype. That was the band.
Okay.
And it was really cool. But I had to basically be a part of this audition process that was like an all-day thing. Like she had the studio room all blocked out for the day, and like she tried out a bunch of different guitar players and a bunch of different bassists and drummers. And I remember like our bass player Brett, like I didn't like him at first.
Really?
Really funny. Yeah, it was really funny. He knows this story well, but. Just like he wasn't that prepared. It'd been a long time since he had been in a band, and he was just like, I remember saying to Holly, like, because she had already told me I was in, and I was like, I don't know, I don't think he's the guy.
Really?
It's really funny because now it's like he's one of my best buddies. He's my right hand man,
Yeah, I was gonna say
to start out like that.
It's just funny after meeting Brett and seeing you guys on stage and just how in sync you are playing. Yeah. That just here you're like, no, I don't think he's cut out for this.
That's so ridiculous to look back at that, but. Things, Joe wasn't actually trying out for that band at the time.
Joe, your drummer.
Yes, Joe the drummer. And so Joe basically came along and tore it up in an audition, and then we did that whole cover band thing for a while, and I realized that I wanted to write original rock and roll music, and the cover band thing was never going to be enough for me.
Now, at this time, was the rest of the band, the cover band, thinking the same thing, or were they just happy doing covers?
I think they were happy doing just playing music together. Because I think at that point we were just, I mean, we sounded good, we sounded tight, we were doing good stuff, and I'd kind of been sick of playing solo shows for so long, and it was nice to be playing with other people, and so I kind of had that feeling too.
So from the time frame you got down to Austin until you met this band, you were playing solo shows. Like, what was the time frame for that?
I'd say I was doing solo shows for about a year or so before anything kind of clicked like that. Yeah, which solo shows are fine, but it's not the same as being with other people and creating with other people.
Right.
But after a while being in that band, I realized that what I really came down to Austin for was to play some rock and roll and to write some stuff and to try to advance my career, and I didn't really see a cover band going where I wanted it to.
Okay.
So I decided to kind of just take charge, and I let her know that, it was, I think in June or something of that year, that by the end of the year I was going to be, leaving and focusing on my own band. And, I told the other guys they could join, but, obviously I have no problem with them staying with Holly and the Hype if they want to do that.
You're just giving the opportunity, like, hey, I'm doing my own thing. If you want to come and try this with me, here we go.
Yeah, because I like the way they play, and I like them as people. So that was kind of a different kind of process, trying to go in a different direction like that. And I had another songwriter who played guitar that I really liked a lot, that we had worked together a little bit in the past doing like a little acoustic duo things, named Derek Cruzy. And so we kind of got him involved with this original band, and it just kind of worked out. And Holly decided to break up the band and pursue other things once I left, which, the other guys were definitely down to keep playing, but it's, it was her decision, and I definitely respect that. I know the guys respected that too.
So at this time that Brett and Joe followed you from the cover band to your new project, and then Derek was doing his own thing, and then he just kind of got brought into the fold?
Yes.
Just to recap?
Yeah, pretty much. And, so it kind of became this band where, Derek and I were writing a lot of songs and, getting the other guys involved. But, I mean, the songwriting process has always been pretty collaborative with everybody. But, the way it was, like, where Derek was singing, which you can hear on the Simple Truth album, Derek sings, I think, 4 of those songs. So it's a little bit of a different sound when he's taking over and, singing. And but it was interesting to see how that kind of came out, like, because we were 2 very different songwriters. He came from, like, this Bob Dylan American songwriter school of thought, whereas me, I'm more of like that rock and roll, like Foo Fighters, Pearl Jam kind of guy, when I'm writing stuff. So, and
plus, if I'm not mistaken, all 4 of you at that time, everybody's from a different part of the country.
Yeah,
the United
absolutely.
States.
Yeah,
you're obviously from Binghamton, New York. Derek is from
Cleveland, Ohio.
Joe is from
around Houston, Texas.
And Brett's
from Indy, so
Indianapolis.
Yeah.
So that is just a wide spectrum of different musical areas.
Yeah.
That just is all collaborating in there.
Yeah.
So then you're starting to play around. How does the name Fair City Fire come about?
Well, naming a band is next to impossible. It's one of my least favorite things to do. But for me, I kind of found some stuff that we just sort of try to brainstorm forever. We'd get together and, get drinks and just like throw names at each other for a long time. And everybody would just be like, well, the next day we'd like read them over and be like, well, I hate all of those.
I would say, how many instances was it where you would come up with something, be like, oh yeah, this is good. And then the next day you'd come in, you'd practice, you'd rehearse or whatever, and be like, you know what? That name really sucks.
Yeah. I mean, for a lot of reasons, I mean, a name can suck. It's like, what it could just be taken already. There was, a few band names that we thought were pretty perfect, and then we look and there's some band in Australia that has 10 followers that has the name already, but they have all the like social media handles, so it's like not really worth taking that, But Fair City Fire came from some Springsteen lyrics that I liked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. From the song Jungle Land. He says, this Exxon sign brings this fair city light. So I was like, Fair City Light's pretty cool, but that was taken. And then he also says, the streets are on fire in a real death waltz, which I thought was awesome, but Streets on Fire was taken. So I kind of combined Fair City Fire.
Just merged them both.
There you go.
Merged the lines. And it was the first thing that, like, nobody hated. So we just went with it, you know? And, it wasn't even a thing that we loved at first, but we kind of grew into it. And now it's like, it's our name. It's, it's more than just a couple Springsteen lyrics combined together. It's like this identity that we feel we have now.
So then the name is set. You guys have been playing, practicing. How was the first gig down in Austin?
It was pretty cool, man. It was at a place called Stomping Grounds, which is has closed since, but real tiny place. And we're a pretty loud, rowdy rock and roll band, and we have been since we started. And it was just kind of the mission, just to kind of be aggressive and energetic and all that stuff. And so to play in a tiny place could be a little overwhelming, but we brought it all the way. We acted like we were playing in an arena, and just went crazy on that little stage, and it was really cool. Like, a lot of people came out to support. They had known, especially Derek and I, from playing solo shows for so long, and I think for a lot of people it was curiosity to see, like, what do these guys sound like in a band setting, in a rock and roll band setting. And so I think that brought a lot of people out to see what that would be like, and I would say we had something from the beginning. There was just this energy about it.
Just a moment after the first show, you guys kind of just looked at each other and said, like, yeah, this is it.
This is it, yeah. It was really cool. And Joe actually wasn't in the band right away, which is interesting. But
are you allowed to talk about that story or no?
We could. He was trying to, like, figure out his life. He was just graduating college at that point. So he was kind of trying to figure out whether he wanted to continue doing the band life or, move on and get a big boy job that he went to college for, and that's a respectable debate to have with yourself. There's a lot of good and bad with going into music hardcore like we do,
Well, yeah, because either it's a full commitment or for different people, it's different priorities.
Yeah.
It all depends on your variance of how, if this is your dream and you're all in, or if this is, a fun project on the side, that you want to do something else. So as you guys said, you're fully in, everybody got in, everybody's like, okay, 100% going in. How soon was it till the new originals were coming out from you guys?
So we were pretty much playing all original stuff from the first show.
Okay.
But I remember the one cover we played the first show was Zombie by the Cranberries.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was the only cover we played. And I remember, it was just because we needed to fill a little time because we didn't have quite enough songs to fill the 45 minutes we needed to. But we were like, yeah, let's do Zombie. And for whatever reason, we chose that song. I don't know why, but now it just seems to have a little more significance,
Yeah, obviously with the passing of
Yeah.
Dolores O'Riordan, and rest in peace on that. So most of the originals are the EP you guys had?
Yeah, the Say It Loud EP.
The Say It Loud.
In 2014 that came out?
Mm-hmm.
2015, sorry.
Yeah, I believe it's 15.
Yeah.
Pat's going to check that up as we're talking.
Yeah, fact check.
Yes, best intern in the game, folks. So you're playing your new originals. You're playing a cover here, like I said, one or two.
2015.
2015. Thank you, Pat.
March 4th.
Yes. So how is the reaction to the originals from the crowds?
Well, I think in a place like Austin, people want to hear that. They want to go out and hear bands do their own stuff. At least in some parts of it. Some there's sects of people that want to get out and see some original music, and it's pretty cool that Austin gives you a platform to do that. And I think people just seem to, from the get-go, comment on our energy pretty much more than anything else, more than the songwriting. Just like you guys, always just you guys always look like you're playing in a giant arena, and it's like that's what you want, I think, And
I will say that from firsthand testimonial, because we've been fortunate enough to see you play here a couple times.
Yeah.
I think with the whole band, and every time Fair City Fire takes the stage, it does feel like they're playing in front of thousands of people because they are just giving it all on stage. I mean, the energy that you guys do on the shows is truly something to see. And I don't think a lot of newer bands do that as well.
I mean, it depends on the band, I guess. But, you know, I've seen both, you know, for sure. But it just kind of depends on, I think, your relationship with the whole thing. You know, if music is like exactly who you are as a person, and the music you're playing, the kind of music you're playing reflects that, then I think, you know, it's going to come naturally. I think you're just going to not be able to help yourself when you're playing on stage.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And so then after the EP is out, where are you going from here?
Well, so, you know, that was our first time like putting out actual product, which is a big thing for a band. I think that's a big moment to actually have music out there, and to get it on Spotify and to get it on iTunes and all over the internet. You know, it's a big moment. And I remember that release show being a lot of fun and a big celebration. This place called Rattle in Austin. And it was a big thing because, you know, we by then we had established a lot of friends in the area, and not a lot of people had put out EPs yet, so it was just kind of this moment for a lot of us. And then later on in the year, we decided to take it on the road and see how other people liked it. And it was great experience. I had never been on a tour like that.
And I'm almost kind of curious because I'm ignorant when it comes to putting music out and for sale. You don't have to get into too much detail. What was the process like of getting your music put onto iTunes?
It's really not hard at all. It's really funny to put it that way, but you know, there's these digital distribution companies that basically there's like CD Baby and TuneCore is the other one those are the major ones, and like we use CD Baby, but you know, you pay them a certain amount of money and they put your music everywhere.
Okay, so was there a moment that like when you went through the process and you got it put up there that like you guys were like, oh my God, we're gonna be on iTunes?
Yeah, I mean, it was cool. It definitely feels like you're legitimized if you are out there like that, for sure.
Well, it's arguably the biggest downloading legal music site on the planet.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, so to get on there, I mean, that's kind of saying you're fully established and you're ready to rock, and here we go. Yeah,
it kind of, you know, lets people know that you're not messing around, you know? You're not just trying to play shows, you're trying to get out there, you know?
And the first tour, how many cities?
I think we stuck to like 7 cities was the plan.
Okay.
We got all the way up here from Texas. Had to.
Yeah, absolutely. So you had everybody's hometown, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we did.
Or around
that was
there.
The plan. Yeah.
And a few other spots in between.
Yeah, for sure. Nashville was a big one that we knew we had to hit, even though none of us were from there. But, you know, we just knew that first tour we wanted to, like, play places that we were pretty familiar. And we knew people would be there. And beyond that, it was like, hey, I kind of want to check this city out. Let's go play there. And I remember Nashville being the big one for that.
Now, how was it going into there where, I mean, obviously nobody has family there. It's a brand new market. It's a very big historic music market. Going in there, nobody really knows who you are, and just hitting that stage, and just what was the reaction from the crowd?
I remember it was a really light crowd, but, you know, that's to be expected in a new city like that. And I remember that the place was really cool. It was like this rock and roll, super divey, tiny little place. And actually, the Black Keys filmed a music video there.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Yeah, for, I think, Little Black Submarines, that song. But yeah, you can see they definitely chose that place because it has this like dirty, grungy rock and roll vibe about it, you know?
But those places are the best.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And for us to get in there and play with some bands from Nashville there, and just to play this loud rock and roll show in this tiny little place was really cool. Definitely a good spot for sure.
So now the EP is out. You're touring. We're going to talk next segment about what's next for Fair City Fire because they got a couple of projects coming up. You're listening to the ODPH Entertainment Edition.
Hi, this is Mike C. from I Am Horror. You're listening to the ODPH, the most killer podcast on the planet.
Streets
third segment on this week's ODPHEE with Brian Wolff from Fair City Fire.
Yo.
Now, we've been talking about your start from Binghamton to Austin to Fair City Fire's beginning to the EP to the tour, and then you guys are pretty well established at this point. It's been a few years of Fair City.
Yeah. So that tour had ended, and we kind of knew we wanted to do something bigger and better. And that's kind of the thing that I think everybody wants to do, right? You know, you want to keep improving and progressing with whatever you're doing. So that was us right there. We wanted to do something bigger.
And the bigger idea was to do a full album.
Yeah. Yep.
So
it made sense to be the next step for sure.
So take us through the process of what you can say about it, of, you know, where the ideas came from, just all the songwriting, like how long was it taking to make the album?
So there's a lot that goes into making albums. I mean, beyond just spending a lot of time in the recording studio, which, I've come to really like that part. I used to not like that. Just kind of like being in a studio environment and just kind of being inside for so long and playing the same stuff over and over, but now I really like the process. I like the building of it, but, it's, there's a lot to it. You got to write the songs. You've got to plan for the studio time. You've got to find the people you want to work on it, which thankfully we've had the same guy do the production and engineering, since we started as a band, which is so cool. Like, that's such a rare thing. A lot of people seem to, switch around and stuff, but we found this guy, Benjamin Allen Levy, and he does great work. And we found that he's a good, fifth member of the band, really, which is what a good producer should be.
I was going to say you need that because you definitely want your sound, what your vision of your sound is, to be projected to everybody.
Yeah.
So you don't want, this was what it meant to sound like, and it comes out completely different.
Yeah.
I mean, that could make or break an album right there.
Yeah, you want a guy that understands what you're going for, but knows how to get more out of it. That's what you want out of a producer, and that's what Ben is for us, and that's why we keep working with him.
And then for the four of you guys, now everybody's collaborating, everybody's involved. It's not just like you, or I believe Derek is still in the band at this time.
Yeah.
That you guys are just the sole songwriters. Like, everybody has a take in the album.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is, I think, a big thing that I learned from not being in charge of everything in previous projects is that, if you don't have a hand in the songwriting and all that stuff, then you're not as invested as everybody else. And I think that was the big thing for me, is I wanted everybody that was in the band to feel the same sort of ownership and presence with it that I do, And I think that was the best way to do it, was to never, ever tell anybody what they should be playing, what mood they should be going for. Just let it happen and just trust that they can make it better than you would.
So just keep it basically as mostly organic as possible. Like, you didn't want anything kind of sounding like, one person's vision and that was it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, there's a few times every once in a while where I feel like something might affect the mood of the song that I was going for, or, changes kind of the meaning if it's not quite there. I mean, there's just like minor tweaks I might tell somebody, but other than that, it's just like, yeah, guys, just like let it happen, because you play bass and you play drums. I don't, So you do what you're best at, and I'll do what I'm best at.
And there's one song I know from the album, which, by the way, you can find on iTunes, Simple Truth. Download it if you haven't already done it. You brought a song that you were playing here onto that album.
Yeah, for sure. A couple, actually.
You brought Strong. That's the one. Which was the other one?
I Want You. I was playing around here, actually, too.
Okay. I missed that.
No,
I've
it's
seen
okay.
you play so many times that it's like,
yeah.
I try to remember, like, what you bring it. But I know Strong stuck out because, obviously, you wrote it here during the time that for flood relief, which I thought was a very cool idea to do. And thank you for doing that.
Yeah, that felt good.
And now to bring it to the band, what was their reaction to that? Were they like, yeah, let's do it? Or were they kind of like, well, that's kind of your own stuff, let's do our own?
I was really hesitant with that song because it had already been released. It felt like it had already had its, run its course, and I played it at some open mics in Austin when I was starting out down there, and a couple people really gravitated towards that song and said, I want to hear that song on a recording, and so it just kind of became, and then there were a couple of guys that would come to the Fair City Fire shows and say, this guy Derek Hom, he would come to like all of our shows and he'd say like, play Strong, and eventually I was kind of like, well, I got to teach it to the guys then. We got to start playing this song. And
just started generating a buzz, and it's sort of like, well, I'm a member of the band. I got to introduce this song to everybody in the band and make
Yeah.
it one of theirs. So it's not just my song; it's their song.
Yeah, and I told them what it was about and stuff, and I think they really gravitated towards the song, and became sort of a moment in our shows where it's not so rock and roll heavy. It kind of like slows down a little bit. It's more of like this ballad that sort of builds up, and I think it's a nice way to break up the set a little bit.
Absolutely. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, I know you guys do mix it up a lot. I know from your shows that I've seen when the band has come up here, you guys have been mixing in some more covers and doing some more things to really kind of give it like a very unique feel. And Being That Strong is definitely one of those change of pace songs,
Yeah.
which is not a bad thing. I want to make sure this is coming out right. But it's just one of those that you can definitely throw in, and it's definitely a mood changer.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a good thing. It's not a song that we play every show. It's not always appropriate for the crowd to just bring them, down to, a real serious kind of mood like that. Sometimes you just want to keep it fun, keep it light, keep it, rocking. But it's, that song definitely, it means a lot to me, and it always has. And I'm glad that the guys were okay with doing it. And we actually used it again for a similar reason when the floods happened in Houston.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but
I did
Yeah.
catch that.
Yeah, I caught it when that was going on. I'm like, oh, okay. I remember why you wrote it and put it
Yeah.
out in the first place. I'm like, okay, yeah, that works.
yeah. No, it's really cool. It was just it was a moment of like, why not? This is a new version of the song. It's like the guys are okay with it. Let's just run with this and see what happens.
So now you guys have already gotten your album out. Ideas to go back on tour.
Yeah.
How was that?
So we learned a lot from that first tour, right? It's like you go do something like that. You take what you can from, mistakes that you made or successes that you had, and try to run with it and do it better the next time. We knew we wanted to go a little bit longer. So we had made that. I think we played 12 cities or something like that.
And obviously, with that being said, more markets that you didn't really get to, that didn't really know the Fair City Fire sound.
Right. Which, that's always a risk. 'Cause, some markets work better for some bands, it's just, but you don't know until you get out there and you try it.
It's a trial by fire, no pun intended.
I like that.
I want to say that. No pun intended on that.
I like it. I like it.
But that's how you go through, and that's how you really build your brand up. And obviously, coming through that tour, another successful one.
Yeah.
What was the plan now? You're going into your next album at this point.
Yeah. So it's kind of interesting how that sort of went down. We had just finished the tour. We came back, and we were trying to figure out what's next, and we were obviously thinking about another album. And then Derek actually told us that he wanted to kind of leave the band and pursue other things in life, which is totally respectable. I mean, it's one of those things that at some point you have to make a decision whether you want to continue doing this thing or not, because it's not always the most rewarding. It's not always the most safe thing you can do. But he did a very respectable thing before he went through the process of going through another album, planning another tour. He's like, guys, I'm going to get out now before we plan all this stuff. And then I just bail, because he just knew that it wasn't for him anymore.
Yeah, and like you said,
which
that's
is great.
completely respectful.
Yeah, I love that. I love the way he did it. I've got a lot of love for him. He moved back to Ohio, and it seems like he's doing really well. So
Good for him. Shout out to Derek too.
yeah.
So now you have a new member.
Yeah.
How's that
Absolutely.
going?
Oh, he's great. He's actually from the Buffalo area.
Oh, shout out to Bill's
Yeah,
Mafia.
he's a huge Bills guy, obviously.
Next time you guys come around, we'll probably be chatting some football.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to. But yeah, so he I don't think he's jumped through any tables or anything like that, but he's a great guy. Definitely love Clint. He's a great player. Got a lot of experience being in touring bands and stuff in the past. So it's cool to have somebody bring that kind of experience to the band, not be new to that idea of putting out an album and, okay, next step is touring. Like, what is that like? He knows. He's been through it so many times,
So he's like a seasoned veteran.
Yeah, he is.
So he can show you the ropes a little bit, kind of give some more ideas, some ideas that maybe you guys weren't thinking about going through your previous tours.
Absolutely. And, he's a great songwriter himself, and he produces stuff for other people. So he's got a lot of insight into those things, especially now that we're recording. He seems to have a lot of really cool ideas on how to prepare for the studio differently, and just he knows what he's doing. It's really cool.
So now you're looking back from where you started, from Binghamton to
Yeah.
Austin, slowly taking it over one gig at a time with Fair City Fire.
Yeah, trying, man.
One EP, one album in the bank, and then you've released a couple singles from that new album coming. I don't know how
Yeah.
much you're allowed to talk about it, which
Yeah.
if you have not heard, Attack, you need to go download, and No Promises, you definitely need to go download.
Definitely Attack, because that's not going to be on the album.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, No Promises will be on the album. But,
Okay.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about the new album?
So it's I think it's definitely it's cool because I think we definitely naturally formed more of a cohesive sound throughout the album on this one. I think that's the one thing, if I were to listen to the first album and critique ourselves the most, is like we kind of have a lot of different sounds and not necessarily one kind of thing that goes through the album, which I think this is and that's just me being probably harsh on myself, but I think this new album just did that. I think, a lot of it revolves around, lyrics and themes that I wrote, and, I'm singing all the songs now. So I think it's kind of turned into, this one band. Even though there's a lot of different genres going on, I think we have more of like that one band feel as opposed to, double barrel action like we used to.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be a unique sound to hear, and then obviously there'll be a tour after that. Is there anything else on the bucket list that you guys want to do going forward?
I mean, yeah, there's a million things on the bucket list. We want to play at Madison Square Garden, man. That's
Whoa.
it. That's, yeah.
Big time.
No, Red Rocks, and then, there's a lot of things, obviously. But I think, more realistically, I think it's, have another great tour and release this album and send it out as far as it'll go. And, I think that's kind of the main thing is we want to just keep releasing music that we really love and we believe in. And I think that's what's really important here.
And you can't go wrong with that. FairCityFire.com is the website.
Yep.
Twitter, Fair City Fire. Instagram, Fair City Fire.
Yep.
Facebook, Fair City Fire. If you have not checked their music out, you need to go do that immediately after you get done listening to the show. The highest possible recommendation for the band we can give, you need to go get The Simple Truth on iTunes or wherever you download music legally from. Brian Wolff, thank you for joining us on the show this week.
It's good to be here.
We're going to have him stick around for one more segment, so we're going to take a quick break. You're listening to the ODPH Entertainment Edition.
It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward, no steps back.
Hey, this is Vince the Common Man Ciatoy, local MMA fighter, telling you to keep on listening to the ODPH, the 607's up-and-coming newest podcast.
We knew right where we'd be, floating on the airwaves, you see. It's a heartbreak, soul-shaped radio attack. Taking 4 steps forward and no steps back. We knew right
Welcome
where
back to the final segment on this week's ODPH Entertainment Edition with Brian Wolff from Fair City Fire. Brian, anything you want to give a shout-out to quick?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the new album coming out in April, we're definitely super pumped about that. Should be seeing a single out in the next month or two, so definitely look out for that. We have a podcast called the Say It Loud podcast.
Which is pretty awesome, by the way. I have
Thanks.
to admit, if you want to listen to some hilarious talk of just the most random left field stuff with musicians and friends of the band, you need to listen to it.
Yeah, it's a unique life that the Austin musicians live, and I think we get to capture some of that, which I definitely like that. And Matt Jones is a great host. I love that guy.
Where can our listeners go to download it if they need to?
SoundCloud.com/FCF podcast or FairCityFire.com.
So that is your links to do it. I know your FairCityFire.com has the store as well, so you can get the band's merch.
Definitely be looking out for the pre-order stuff on there too for the album. So we'll be putting that out there. But yeah, definitely excited for the year. Look out for tour dates. Definitely.
They got a lot of stuff going on. So before we end the show, Pat's got a couple quick hits to fill you in on?
Yeah, so a little bit of interesting news dropped today as we record. The Oscar nominations got announced. Now, normally I kind of take a glance at it. I go, okay, to be expected, and nothing really sticks out to me. But a couple of things stuck out to me. First of all was the Best Director category. Nominated was Christopher Nolan for Dunkirk,
Excellent movie.
Greta Gerwig for Lady Bird, Paul Thomas Anderson for Phantom Thread, Guillermo del Toro for The Shape of Water,
Ugh.
and
Not a fan?
I didn't like that one.
Okay.
and
like that
last but surprisingly, Jordan Peele for Get Out.
Great
That was a great
nomination.
movie.
Yeah.
I like that movie.
Yeah,
a
it
lot.
was great. Left field, if
Yeah.
ever I've seen one.
Yeah, doesn't seem like something that the Oscars would pick up on necessarily, but it's really cool they did.
Because you've got directors of the caliber of Christopher Nolan, who
Yeah,
you've seen a movie or two of his.
yeah.
Guillermo del Toro, very well known. Jordan Peele, I remember seeing an article headline. I didn't get a chance to read it, but Jordan Peele said when the Oscar nomination was announced and they announced him for Best Directing, he was happy crying. He couldn't believe
Yeah,
it.
I'm sure. What an honor that is.
I mean, there's got to be something, too. I know, what was it? Shape of Water had 13 nominations.
Yeah,
That was
Did
crazy.
you guys see it?
I have not seen it yet.
I've had a couple of friends tell me about it and see it. They said it's very good.
Okay.
Very well
All right.
done.
Yeah.
But you're
fair
entitled to
enough.
your opinion. No,
Yeah.
you're allowed to not like something we like on the show. It's completely okay. So.
Yeah. No, it was just I think I got dragged to it and I didn't know what to expect. I think I got caught off guard a little bit.
Yeah, fair enough.
I had a similar experience happen to me once before where I got dragged to I went to go see a movie with a friend. I had no idea what it was about. I didn't even remember seeing a trailer for the movie. Came out of it absolutely hating it.
Yeah.
Saw it a couple of months later. Didn't hate it as much.
Okay, yeah, maybe I need to see it again.
All right, dare we say, we got to ask you, though. Star Wars Last Jedi, hated it or loved it?
I loved it.
Yes.
I loved it.
Good man.
Yeah, that's kind of now our benchmark for guests to coming on the show.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
I did,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Except didn't have Boba Fett, but I'll get over that.
And then the other notable thing was the Best Adapted Screenplay category. Logan got a nomination,
About time.
which
It's great.
outside of Heath Ledger winning Best Supporting Actor after he tragically passed away, it is the highest nomination a superhero movie has ever received for the Oscars, because by and large they'll get the
Special effects.
special effects category this year is just littered with superhero movies. You got Blade Runner 2049, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Kong Skull Island, Star Wars The Last Jedi, and War for the Planet of the Apes. So it's all kind of the same genre there, but for that movie to get nominated for Best Adapted Screenplay, well done to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Long overdue comic book movies got a little shout out in that category. So to close out the show, I know we're going to kind of flip gears 1 second because we got to talk a little Rumble Pony baseball with my man Brian.
I'm down.
What do you think the season's looking like?
I mean, Tebow, baby.
Yes.
Yes, that's what we're saying.
Tebow Mania here in
coming.
Binghamton. I believe it.
Our sound guy Galore, JR, from the sports show, will be arguing about that if that happens.
He thinks it's not going to happen,
He
vehemently.
definitely thinks
Vehemently.
that Tebow is not coming here, which I disagree with him.
Why
so does
wouldn't
Pat.
he?
That's what I'm saying. He's going to wind up in the majors, and he's got to get accepted. That is going to happen.
I don't know if he's going to wind up in the majors.
I
That's a
say
little-
for one
that's a little
homestand, he
much.
gets one homestand. He gets up there.
Yeah,
It'll
at least.
if he does, it'll be like the end of the year, like in September when the rosters
Yeah.
expand, and then kind of like, okay, I think that'll be it.
Yeah.
I'm just excited for the Rumble Ponies to be on the national news with Tim Tebow playing.
Oh my gosh,
I love it. I love it.
With the stadium,
The Say Sports Center will be doing all live shots from
Yeah,
the stadium.
somebody trying out a speedy or something. I don't know.
the stadium,
yeah.
the stadium will be rocking, and definitely say maybe he's got to get a little Fair City Fire music in the batting lineup. I'm
think-
putting that out
yeah.
there. I'm just gonna. I know we have some people listening
You might
around
be
that.
right. Yeah,
We gotta
You
get a
might be
little
right.
little Simple Truth in the soundtrack
I
on.
think that would get the crowd going a little bit.
I'm saying. I'm just
Light them
saying.
up a little bit.
Folks, we had to throw a little curveball in because we want to say thank you again to Brian Wolff from Fair City Fire joining us on the show. Anytime you're in town, my friend, come on through.
Yeah, man, it's good to be here. Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you. And the album Simple Truth is on iTunes right now, and the new album is coming out in April. For more information, faircityfire.com. So, for the intern himself, Padawan J, I am your host, Ken M. Thank you again for listening to another edition of the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour Entertainment Edition. We'll see you next time.
Instead of making promises in the dark,